The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Have you ever felt the chilling echo of that sentiment in the quietest moments of your night? A phantom limb of a life you were meant to live. An ache for a connection that feels cosmically destined, yet perpetually out of reach. You feel it, don't you? That profound, gnawing loneliness, even when surrounded by a sea of faces and a cacophony of digital noise. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are awakening. What you are experiencing is a sacred summons from your soul, a sign that the very fabric of love, as the modern world presents it, has been torn asunder. And by the end of this message, you will not only understand why, but you will be armed with the forbidden knowledge to reclaim the love that is your divine birthright. If this resonates deep within your spirit, let your energy be felt. Acknowledge this connection with a simple gesture, and share in the comments below the one word that describes your journey right now. For in our shared truth, we discover we were never truly alone. You feel it already, don't you? The sensation of being a ghost at a feast. You are here, physically present, but your spirit is elsewhere, yearning for something real, something that nourishes the soul. You are not dead, but you have been living amongst the dead, mistaking the hollow pantomime of modern connection for the sacred dance of true intimacy. Every touch that lacks intention, every kiss that doesn't exchange a piece of the soul, every whispered, "I love you," that echoes with the hollowness of habit. It's all been a lie. A grand, tragic illusion. Not a lie born of your personal failure, but a lie woven into the very code of our contemporary existence. Love itself has not merely faded. It has been systematically assassinated by the relentless machinery of a world that fears depth. A world that commodifies connection. A world that has traded the temple of the heart for the marketplace of the ego. This is not a philosophical debate. This is a spiritual autopsy. We are here to examine the corpse of what was once the most sacred force in the universe, and to understand the precise instruments of its demise. This isn't about placing blame. It's about reclaiming power. It is about understanding the nature of the poison, so that you may finally begin to alchemize the antidote within your own being. Imagine this scene. One you've likely lived 100 times in 100 different forms. You're seated across from someone, perhaps a person you've shared your bed with, your time with, for weeks, months, even years. The restaurant is perfectly lit. The candles flicker, casting dancing shadows that hide more than they reveal. The wine is poured, a deep crimson that promises a warmth it cannot deliver. Their lips are moving, forming words that create sound but carry no frequency, no true vibration. You nod, you smile, you play your part in this well-rehearsed play. But a slow, sinking horror begins to creep into the edges of your awareness. A cold dread that crystallizes into a single terrifying truth. You do not know this person, not in the way that matters. You don't know the landscape of their soul, the secret fears that visit them at 3 a.m., the silent triumphs that make their spirits soar. And the most terrifying part of this revelation? They don't know you either. You are two digital phantoms, two carefully curated avatars performing a pantomime of intimacy. You are clutching at each other in the dark, desperate for warmth, and mistaking the friction of two bodies for the fusion of two souls. You are exchanging data points, your favorite movies, your career aspirations, your vacation photos. But the sacred data of your spirit remains encrypted, untouched, unknown. This is the great curse of modern love, the paralyzing vertigo that the philosopher Kierkegaard called the dizziness of freedom. We are presented with an infinite, endless scroll of faces, a digital buffet of potential partners, each one a fleeting dopamine hit, a momentary distraction from the profound emptiness within. The algorithm, our new high priest, feeds us an endless parade of profiles, each a carefully constructed advertisement for a person who may or may not exist. We swipe, We text, we indulge, we ghost, and we repeat, caught in a sickening loop of superficial engagement. Each new match, each new notification, is a subtle whisper from the machine, a reminder that we are replaceable, that connection is disposable, that the person before us is just one option among millions. And so, what do? We build armor. We cloak ourselves in irony, in detachment, in the cool, cynical lie that we don't care. We pretend that vulnerability is a weakness, that true emotional investment is a fool's game. Why? Because to truly care, to truly open your heart in this gladiator's arena of modern dating feels far too dangerous. The stakes feel too high when the game is designed for you to lose. But here is the brutal, undeniable truth, the one that the noise of the world is designed to drown out. You are lonelier now, in this age of hyperconnectivity, than a hermit would have been in the darkest corners of the Middle Ages. Let me tell you a story, a sacred parable that Kierkegaard himself would have understood in the marrow of his bones. In the 6th century, across the green hills of Ireland, there existed a group of mystics known as the anchorites. These were men and women of profound divine connection who made a radical choice. They willingly sealed themselves inside tiny stone cells, often attached to the wall of a church, with only a small slit of a window open to the world, one to receive communion and another to offer spiritual counsel to the villagers who sought their wisdom. They would spend decades in this chosen solitude, in deep, solitary confinement, their only companion, the unwavering presence of the divine. You might hear this and think it madness, an act of extreme self-denial. But here is the profound twist, the alchemical secret that our modern world has forgotten. Those anchorites, in their stone cells, were infinitely less lonely than you are right now, scrolling through your phone in a crowded room. Why? What is the secret they possessed? It is this: their isolation had meaning. Their solitude was a choice, a sacred vow, an act of supreme spiritual devotion. They owned their aloneness. It was not something that happened to them, but something they actively cultivated as a path to a higher frequency. Their suffering was not the meaningless byproduct of a rejected text or a ghosted date. It was a covenant with God, a deliberate stripping away of the world's distractions to hear the clear, unwavering voice of source energy. Their solitude was a forge, and in its searing heat, they tempered their souls into something unbreakable. Now, compare that sacred purpose to the accidental loneliness of today. You are surrounded by a constant stream of people, friends, co-workers, lovers, yet you feel like a ghost, an invisible entity floating through a world that doesn't truly see you. You scroll through the highlight reels of other people's lives, a curated feed of joy and connection that only serves to amplify your own sense of lack. You sit in loud bars, shouting over music that grates against your soul, pretending to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, all to maintain the fragile illusion of belonging. You may even go home with someone, and in the deafening silence after the physical act is over, you feel a loneliness so profound, so absolute, that you realize with a crushing certainty that you would rather be completely and utterly alone. This is the great paradox that Kierkegaard warned us about. The more digitally connected we become, the more spiritually alone we feel. Modern love has become a hall of mirrors, reflecting back at us an infinite number of superficial versions of ourselves, but never revealing the true essence within. We have been sold a dangerous lie, that vulnerability is weakness, that emotional depth is too much, that love should be easy, effortless, Instagrammable. And so, we perform. We curate our profiles, we filter our photos, we hide our scars and our shadows behind a facade of detached coolness. We become masters of concealment. Kierkegaard saw this coming nearly 200 years ago. He wrote about the crowd, the faceless, abstract mass of society that levels all things, that fears individuality, that swallows the unique soul whole until nothing but a generic, acceptable version remains. Today, the crowd is digital. It is the pressure to be chill, to never catch feelings, to treat the sacred act of love like a stock market, where you are always hedging your bets, always diversifying your portfolio of potential partners, always ready to sell at the first sign of a downturn. But here is a historical truth that will shatter the foundations of this modern prison. The very concept of dating as we know it, this casual consumeristic auditioning process, did not exist before the 20th century. For thousands of years, marriage and partnership were understood differently. They were often economic, political, or practical alliances. Then, suddenly, with the rise of Romanticism, we were told a new story, that love should be magic, a lightning strike, a fairy tale. And when that magic inevitably fades, as all initial infatuations do, we are taught to blame ourselves or our partners. We think we've failed. We think the connection was flawed. But what if I told you that your deep, aching loneliness isn't a flaw? What if I told you that it is the key to your salvation? What if that ache is the voice of your higher self, screaming at you to stop participating in a game that was designed to break your spirit? You wake up at 3 a.m. Again, the room is dark, but the pale, ghostly glow of your phone paints the ceiling a sterile, artificial blue. Another notification. Another potential match. Another hit of nothingness. It's another night where the silence is so loud it hums in your skull, a low-frequency vibration of despair. You tell yourself you're fine, that this is just how things are, but you are not fine. You are suffocating. Kierkegaard had a name for this feeling, the sickness unto death. It's not a physical death, but something far worse, a spiritual suffocation. It is the feeling of drowning in shallow water, surrounded by the potential for life but unable to draw a true breath. It is the slow, agonizing erosion of your own soul as you conform to a system that denies its very existence. You feel this despair, this deep existential ache, and you think it is your enemy. You think it is something to be medicated, distracted from, or ignored. But here is what the architects of this system will never tell you. Your despair is not your enemy, it is your compass. It is your soul's divine guidance system, pointing you away from the poison and toward the path of your true destiny. Your pain is not a punishment. It is a sacred fire of purification. In the ancient art of alchemy, the process began with the prima materia, the base, chaotic matter. Your despair, your loneliness, your heartbreak. This is your prima materia. It is the lead that, when subjected to the intense heat of self-awareness and courage, can be transmuted into the purest gold of spiritual sovereignty. In 18th century Denmark, a man named Jens Andersen did something the world deemed unthinkable. In a full church ceremony, before a priest, he married himself. He stood before a mirror and exchanged sacred vows with his own reflection. The townspeople called him mad, but Kierkegaard would have called him a prophet. He understood that before you can enter into a sacred union with another, you must first forge a sacred, unbreakable union with your own soul. He chose to honor his own being rather than seek hollow validation from a world that could never understand him. This is the alchemy of despair. To take the feeling of being unwanted and unwanted by the world and transform it into the unwavering radical act of choosing yourself. Your despair is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your spirit is still alive, still fighting against the spiritual castration of modernity. You feel the pain because you were made for more. You were designed for a love that is deep, resonant, and real. A love that reflects your own divinity back at you. That yearning is not a fantasy. It is a memory of your natural state. Now comes the moment of choice. Do you continue to seek validation from the outside? To play the game that is slowly killing you? Or do you turn inward and begin the great work of forging your own soul? Nietzsche famously declared that God is dead, but he missed the sequel. In the 21st century, it is love, that is dead. Not because we stopped feeling it, but because we outsourced it to algorithms, to apps, to a consumer culture that treats human hearts like products on a shelf. For millennia, love was a covenant, a sacred vow, a risk. Now, it's a transaction. Swipe right for a hit of dopamine. Swipe left for a flicker of disinterest. We have turned the most profound human experience into a video game, where everyone is playing with cheat codes, and yet nobody ever truly wins. Kierkegaard saw this coming. He wrote about the aesthetic life, the life of the person who flits from pleasure to pleasure, from sensation to sensation, never committing, never suffering, and therefore never truly living. Does that sound familiar? It should. It is the modern dating playbook. But here is the twist. The secret key that unlocks the cage. Suffering is not the opposite of joy. It is the price of it. It is the gateway to it. To feel the ecstatic heights of true love, you must be willing to risk the abyssal depths of true heartbreak. To avoid the pain is to avoid the love. They are two sides of the same divine coin. Now, picture yourself standing on a cliff at midnight. In your hands, you hold a box. Inside that box is every half-hearted relationship, every fake smile, every time you swallowed your truth to keep the peace, every moment you shrank yourself to be more palatable to others. You are about to perform a sacred act. You light it on fire. You let it burn. You watch the smoke carry away the ghosts of your past selves. This is what Kierkegaard meant by the leap of faith. It's not a leap into blind belief in some external deity, but the terrifying, liberating leap into your own authentic self. It is the courage to stop pretending. It is the courage to admit that you would rather be truly alone than lonely in a crowd. The greatest souls in history understood this. The Stoics, who found freedom in mastering their inner world. The samurai, who practiced mokuso silent meditation before battle, not to empty their minds, but to fill them with unwavering resolve. They sat in perfect stillness, acknowledging the chaos, the blood, the screams, the possibility of death that lay ahead. And yet, they breathed. They centered. They became a force of nature. You are in your own mokuso now. The battlefield is modern love. The enemy is not the other people. It is your own conditioned need for their validation. Kierkegaard's forbidden weapon is simple. It is the willingness to be misunderstood. It is the courage to stand so firmly in your own truth that the opinions of others become irrelevant noise. This is not arrogance. This is spiritual sovereignty. It is the final stage of awakening, where you realize that the war was never with the world. The war was with the parts of yourself that you were willing to sacrifice for a scrap of approval. And now, the final mask must fall away. The final truth that Kierkegaard laid bare. You must love as if you have never been wounded. This is not a call for naive recklessness. It is a call for radical presence. It means you no longer carry the ghosts of past betrayals into your present interactions. You no longer project your unhealed trauma onto new souls. You meet each person not as a potential threat or a potential savior, but as a sovereign being, just as you are. You do this not because it is safe, not because it is fair, but because it is the only act that makes the suffering of this life worth it. It is the only way to honor the divinity within you. So here is the choice. Laid bare before you. You can continue to build your walls, to sharpen your resentments, to tell yourself you are free as you scroll through another midnight of empty pixels, another parade of digital ghosts. You can continue to play the game, knowing deep down that it is slowly, methodically grinding your soul into dust. Or you can step into the fire. You can embrace the terrifying, beautiful alchemy of your own despair. The path is now clear. The masks are off. The decision is yours. What word defines your next step? Is it surrender? Is it war? Is it sovereignty? Is it love? Type it, own it, become it. The universe is waiting for your answer.